that was made multiple times was the connection between storyboarding and what is inherent in NGSS. There's a storyline. And so at first, one of the first science teachers that I was working with was like, oh, a little bit of pushback. And then like started thinking about it. And the end result was like, this is easier for us in science because we have a storyline. And in the end, in the reflection, the comment was, we can actually make the storyline that's supposed to be there stronger.
Yes.
Through this. And I thought that was brilliant. That was just brilliant.
Yeah, and I understand and appreciate that for folks that are looking at this on a small phone or a tablet, it may be difficult to read. So again, if you reach out to us, we'll go ahead and make sure that you can see the PDF a little more clearly. But one of the things that I was intrigued by as I was starting to take a look at this storyline is the clarity of the titles to actually demonstrate a level of playfulness in a way that, again, is something that many science teachers feel to their bones. But at the same time, students are also starting to see science in a way of curiosity and wonderment through the teacher's eyes sometimes. So that was one of the things that I appreciated. Mm-hmm. Anything else, Bena, that you appreciated about this particular example? Because there are, I'm sure, a couple of different things that we could chat about.
Well, I mean, the other thing that I think is so great is the idea that when you're thinking of NGSS, what you're thinking about is a very complex weaving of the matrix, so that it's really about more than just engineering or more than just physics, but really also about the whole idea of what your dispositions and your attitude and your inquiry is, and how you really begin to develop that. So I think this map, kind of this storyboard map, I would call it, is really a beautiful example. And certainly when I look at the visuals, I think to myself, that is very cool. I didn't even look at the titles as much as I immediately got attracted to the visuals. And it's just very compelling.
So one of the other parts that we haven't talked about yet is the idea of the learning targets. And the learning targets really are designed to feature those seminal or primary learning targets that are the basis of the modeling, the coaching, the feedback, and the assessment. So the learning targets are not necessarily exclusive, like they're a representative set for perhaps something that is a little bit longer than what you see for Unit 1. But at the same time, these are areas of focus that the teacher is really tuning in on to clarify and make sure that students have multiple opportunities to get their arms around it, to practice, to get feedback, to test it out, as well as synthesize some of their ideas. So I think that's the heart of what you see in terms of learning targets here. Maureen, any insight in sort of the dilemma around learning targets of what to put in, what to exclude? Was that an issue for anyone?
We did not have that come up as a conversation at all. But one of the things that I wanted to comment on about the learning targets on this particular storyboard is I think, it's 8th grade. Your 8th graders are maybe when they come home from school are not really interested in talking to their home caretaker. But if you wanted to have a conversation at the dinner table about what was going on in school, when you have something like this, and you know specifically what it is going on in the classroom by looking at those learning targets, I think that they are really excellent springboards for conversation with between caregivers, parents, and students. Also, the story there on this is pretty intriguing as well. So I want to go back and really underscore the value of the storyboard as a community builder and a homeschool relationship builder.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you look at Unit 2, and again, it's tiny print, so I'm just trying to navigate it. I saw it bigger print earlier when you sent it along, but the accessibility and the approachfulness look up in the night sky and you'll walk away with more questions than answers. What else is out there under in the solar system? And so I think the idea is that that's a question that not only kids can step back and sort of look at not only the night sky, but perhaps with a little more wonderment and awe, but it's something that's still something that families can dive into in terms of a genuine conversation or interaction. And sometimes when the grade levels go up and they are dealing with more complex content, oftentimes parents feel more and more unmoored from engaging in conversation.
I think it's so lovely that this really removes that level of abstraction, because can't you just picture that when the kids start to study this and they start going home and talking about it, it's just possible that they've got a father or a mother who is just a nut for the moon and wants to know more about the phases of the moon. I mean, there's this whole idea of what are some of your hobbies? What are some of the things that you're passionate about? What are some of the books that you're reading? And you just find that it is amazing how much that conversation is inspired by this, rather than all the, how are you doing? Did you get the grade? What was the test about? Do you have to study? It's like we have to study together some of these things, and that's very inspiring.
I wanted to say, one of the comments that was made, I wrote it down, so I'm going to read it, from a student said, I actually think, and this is a really interesting, I actually think an underrated storyboard's most important contribution is allowing teachers themselves to collaborate and get their heads around a course of study. And so I loved that comment. And when I think about this particular storyboard, could be mathematics, things that, content areas that we may think as being more flat or sterile or less engaging. This comment made me think about the beauty of the diversity of the people that we work with. And so while we could be scientists or mathematicians, we have personality, we have other, we're very complex human beings. And so you could have somebody who's like really narrow and serious about their content, and you could have another person who is totally different personality, and you put them together to work on these storyboards. And that's where you get the underrated element of storyboarding. You can get very creative, engaging, alluring types of storyboards on the same content, because you put different people together. And I think that in some previous manners of approaching documenting curriculum on paper, that didn't happen so much.